message this morning might be unusual. It was brought to my attention, and the Lord said, speak it. The title is Changing Themes, Changing Mottos. Friday we honored those who have shed their blood on the world's battlefields and preserved our freedom. We can never give enough thanks for those. Our nation has a history of changing themes or mottos or phrases that challenge the world, at least challenge our nation. It kicks off movements, gets people's attention. They've changed over the years, and after 88 years, I've been able to see them change quite a bit. And I was giving thought to those and how they affect us. You ever remember how has there been certain phrases that caught your attention at times, just made you stop and think, and may have put you into action? Just simple statement. Well, our nation has a history of those, and we're going to look at a few of them today. Give me liberty, or give me death. Spur the nation to action. Britain, France, and Spain were defeated, and we gained freedom because of one man. He got sick and tired of not being free. And freedom is a precious, precious gift. And one day he decided, I've had enough. And he probably, during the night, woke up and said, I'm tired of this. Either give me liberty or give me death. And he began to move the people. And we know the results. In the mid-50s, I don't know if you remember or not, the mine, it didn't catch hold, so possibly you don't remember it, but the minority said, give us 5 years and we'll win the world to Jesus Christ. We haven't. Have we even tried in those years? Because those years have been changing years. How many remember the mid-50s? It was a whole different world then. And I think that give us 5 years and we'll win the world for Jesus Christ, possibly came from a convention. Someone, started that movement. It didn't catch hold because it was a minority, and so it didn't affect. The national leaders at that same time said, let's put a man on the moon. And it started to race space. And it's still going on. It never has ceased. It's getting further and further and further. And instead of putting on a man on the moon, now we want to put a man on the Mars and make it able for people to live there in case our earth is unable for us to survive. So we'll have a place to go, a place to hide. The foolishness of man. I think the foolishness of man has been spoken loudly in that race for space. It just keeps getting, now we have multiplied billions being invested in it. How much did it affect the world? That phrase not only affected our nation, but it affected the world. Now China says we're going to beat you there, and Russia wants to beat us there. Everybody wants to get there first and raise their flag. And then in the 60s, remember what the phrase was in the 60s that the nation heard? One man said it loudly. I have a dream. I have a dream, and it didn't start the civil rights movement, but it fueled it. Got it going. And so you remember the results. In 1963, the Civil Rights Act was passed. And a lot of cities were gearing up for marching. I know I had to take time from work and went down and bought a pistol for my wife. Went to the sheriff's department and said my wife will be in the car tonight at 11 o'clock, pick me up from work, and she'll be armed. Because he had made it plain already that any arms would be taken. If you had a gun, they're going to take it from you. Because we're expecting a bunch come from Miami to come up to Belgrade to riot because of the Civil Rights Act. He said, don't worry about your wife. We wouldn't touch her with a 10-foot pole. And so, but she didn't have to come and never had to use it. But, you know, then in the 60s, that was in the 70s and 80s. I don't know where it caught your attention or not, but I know in the 70s, there was a thing in the churches that Israel had all the material for the rebuilding of the temple. It was all there, waiting to be reused. And at any moment, Jesus was going to come, they're going to rebuild the temple, and they're going to, everything's going to change. Well, it didn't happen. Then in the 80s, I remember when I was pastor at Rosemary Baptist Church, a man wrote a book about, he named the day foolishly. And then the next year he had to write another book because he said, I didn't count, instead of counting from 1, he should have counted from 0, and to calculate when Jesus was going to come. And of course, I don't know how popular his book was, but I never bought it. I never used any excerpts from it. I just kept on preaching, preparing God's people, because my Bible says God only knows the day and the hour. And so why waste time standing in the pulpit I had a pretty good attendance at Rosemary. Why waste their time preaching something that I knew was going to happen? And then, in the 16 to 20, 2016 to 2020, what happened then? Let's make the world a better place. Let's change the United. Let's make America great again. And what did that do? It divided and multiplied political division. I mean, you talk about a political mess because one man said, let's make America great again. Let's make America strong again. Let's make America safe again. All the good things. But he wasn't able to do that. He made some good points. But all it did was expose and magnified division that was already there. We've always been divided, but that really blew it up. I mean, it blew it wide open. Everybody wanted to put the man in jail. Then they wanted to fine him ridiculous fines, and over. All that stuff went on day by day by day by day because of one phrase, and it divided the nation. It multiplied that division to bad. And then at 20 and 21 to 20 and 24, what happened then? COVID. Because of COVID, the world was in a turmoil. Everybody's scared to death. Schools were closed, shut down, and you couldn't even come and have a party in your house if you had more than lived there. You could be arrested over and over and over again. And during that confusion, all the worms came out of the woodwork. They said, this is the time now. We've had always these things in our mind for a long time, and now that the world's got their attention on COVID, let's start these movements. How many of those movements can you remember? Just phrases, movements. They had a critical race theory. What's critical race theory? That some races were made for the benefit of others. Foolishly, the blacks, I think, felt they were made for the benefit of the whites. That came out long, and that's what they feel, that we're here for a special purpose. We're here to benefit everybody. And so we recognize above everybody and give things that we deserve. And then Black Lives Matter. And finally, it merged into all lives by the wise people. All lives matter. Everybody's important. Everybody should, value life. And then sexual perversion. All of a sudden, it's okay to go for men to go into women's bathrooms and boys to play girls' sports. And right now, finally, we're seeing some of that taken care of. The Supreme Court will be meeting to finalize some of that pretty soon, their next meetings. But just, things that it's all right for somebody to feel that way, but when it grips a nation, it causes more confusion than you can get done. So what other movements come out that time of period? Sexual change, defrauded police, absolute freedom of speech. Not freedom of speech, but absolute freedom of speech. That I can say anything I want to. I don't care how it hurts anybody else. Total freedom to speak. I like to have the freedom of speech. I like to be able to stand up and preach God's word. I like to be able to be on the street and talk to people about the Lord. I like to people to speak about things I don't agree with. I don't want to lose that freedom. But when it gets to be, I had another sermon I was getting ready. When freedom fails, and when your freedom impacts other people to a negative thing, then freedom has failed. And then we have climate change, and that's all these things are still, none of them have gone away. They're still impacting this nation. They're still bringing confusion to the nation. I wonder where, and I wonder what our next phrase will be. It's beyond our imagination that somebody's going to get up and say something, and all of a sudden the nation is going to jump on it. It may be right now we have a politician in the largest city in the United States pushing communism, point blank communism. I wonder how many people that will affect. Intelligent people, it won't affect at all. But how many people that are hard at work? How many kids that, college, and those things invade our colleges and cause that to go astray. The national themes. Now, you said national themes. National themes historically have produced confusion and division at the same time ignoring the people's needs. All that time and energy spent, all that money spent when people can't buy the groceries. Right now we have, I don't know where you watch the news or not, but our time has brought out a bunch of nuts. I mean, real nuts. They get a microphone and they may not have more than 20 people behind them, but they'll scream all that this bill that just got passed, historical bill. All it's going to do is going to destroy our nation. It's going to take away our kids. Multiplied millions of children are going to die because yada, 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 yada. The bad part about it, those things, sometimes it gets into the church. And so be careful what you listen to, because you jump on a theme and it just goes crazy. And if enough people jump on it, the more radical it is, it seems like the more radical it is, the more confusion it'll cause. But the more radical it is, the more people listen to it. Why? You ever consider how all these things have taken such power? It's a simple statement. People are gullible. Do you believe that? How many believe people are gullible? I mean, intelligent people, for a moment, sometime periodically, all of a sudden, a moment of gullibility. Boy, that sounds good. I need to start pushing that wagon. And the nation's in a mess. The psalmist gave us God's promise. Psalm 33:12 says, "Blessed is a nation whose God is the Lord, and the people whom he has chosen for his own inheritance. Blessed is that name. That was David's theme. Sometime during, I believe David wrote that probably sometime during that 40-year reign that he had. And what happened when David was king? That was one of many. Ryan said we were going to start studying the Psalms in our next session in Bible study. Well, that's a good one to start. Blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord, and the people who has chosen for his inheritance. That's the thing we need to catch on. We need to, if we're gonna latch on to a promise, that's a good one to start with, because God gave it. And what happened during that time? How did it affect Israel? Israel had 40 years of peace and prosperity. Israel had David ruled and overcome their enemies. For 40 years, Israel was calm and safe and quiet, and God blessed them. 40 years. And then Solomon came along, and he said, look at us. Look at us. We have a temple, seventh wonder of one of the seven wonders of the world. We have a temple. We have people. All the people are happy. We have apes and peacocks. We have hanging gardens. We have a monumental number of horses and chariots and men and women serving us. Look at us. And what happened? The nation was divided and soon fell, went into 70 years of captivity. And it all started, with a cause. Just look at us. What if Solomon had said, look at what God has done to us. Look at how God has chosen his people. Look, David said, blessed is that nation whose God is the Lord. Look at us, how true that is if we can be that way. Solomon was peaceful for 40 years, but during that 40 years, he destroyed the nation because his eye was on the nation, not on the Lord. And so those things change everybody. So be careful what's influencing our nation right now. Let's do it again. Let's make our nation great. The same thing come back caused such confusion, and now it's still there, and it still got confusion because people hate the man that made that phrase. They don't care how much good or bad, or how good he does, if he can bring things together and make it a prosperous nation. They don't care about that. They hate the man. And many times a man, just like Patrick Henry, was a man, a simple man. He'd give me liberty, he'd give me death. And so it moved the nation. And so be careful what captures your thinking. Because if it affects you, then from you it'll be spread. Because if it catches your attention, what are you going to do? You're going to talk to somebody about it. It's going to influence more than one until it grows and grows and grows. 2,000 years ago, one person said, crucify him. And then the multitude wound up saying, crucify him. You can bet this one person probably started that, probably one of the leaders. Let him be crucified. That'll solve the problem. Let's get him out of the way. Let him be crucified. And it caught. And it multiplied. How many times churches have been destroyed because one person made a remark? One person says, did you know that? Or have you heard that? Do you realize what so-and-so is doing or saying? And it's called murmuring. And pretty soon because it stops being a murmur, it starts being a roar, and churches are divided, and people die and go to hell because the place where the gospel is to be centered is confused because of a phrase, because of something. Patrick Henry said, give me liberty, give me death, and God and a great God-fearing nation was born. Simple. Two world wars later, the nation said, look at us. During that time, I believe the Empire State Building was built. You know, one nation declares its imminence, they build a great building. The first thing that happened after 9/11, when our nation's buildings were destroyed, and then in the East, who was it, built a higher building? And now to replace ours, we had to make ours higher than theirs, because look at us. This is a symbol of our greatness. Not look at God, but look at that symbol that we have. And it goes on and on and on and on. People forget where our blessings come from. After the Second World War, something else happened. After the First and Second World War. It began after the First, because the greatness was felt after the First. And then the Second topped it off. But what else went on after that I haven't mentioned it yet? God was gradually phased out of the nation. In the mid-50s, a man that gave us our dictionary started the New Age, not the humanity movement. That God is not needed. Man can work out his own problems all by himself, and humanism got into colleges. Started in the teachers' unions, where they got into our elementary school teachers, and started from the ground up, teaching our children gradually one thing at a time, that you don't need God, because we are human people. We have wisdom, we have power, we have this, we have that. Look what we've done. Now we're strong. We don't need God. And he's gradually phased out. Where is he today? That minority that said, give us 5 years and we'll win the world to Jesus Christ, that minority has gotten smaller and smaller and smaller. In the 70s, that is when they said, Jesus is coming. He didn't, but he will. And we wait. Amen. So be careful who you listen to. Go back to 32nd Psalm, 33rd Psalm, chapter 12. Blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord, and the people whom he has chosen for his own inheritance. More than 2,000 years later, Jesus Christ said this: if a kingdom be divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand. It's simple. It's so sad how a simple statement can divide a people. And when they're divided, they can't stand. Now I'm going to close with a simple statement. I think we need to choose a new phrase as a people of God. I've preached it time and time again. You may recognize it. Psalm 144:15 says, happy is that people whose God is the Lord. The theme I would recommend you to pick up as a personal theme. Don't worry about the national themes. The national themes have brought more destruction, more division than you can ever imagine. Over and over, as far as the history of our country, where it started out with a good national theme, freedom, freedom, freedom. But we've deteriorated since then. Where should God's people be today? One simple statement: I belong to God. As long as I'm able to man this pulpit, you'll hear that over and over again. I want you to be reminded every time you sit, if you haven't been challenged, I don't mean to go around day by day, walk around and say, I belong to God. I mean, have that within you, that that knowledge within you that no matter what happens, and as I get on, as I pray for these 5 babies in our church, it kills me. And I see more and more and more my great-grandson and my grandson, both of them. Our family's been hit with it, as well as the church. And if I didn't have God's assurance that He's a good God, that He's a gracious God, I couldn't stand up here. I'd be so broken because I love my family. I'd be so broken I couldn't serve Him. But because I know who God is, and I know that, no, I don't know the babies, they're innocent. They're totally innocent. They've done no harm. They haven't had time to do any good. And you sometimes question, but that's a bad thing. Because God, in His wisdom, knows exactly what's going on and what He's going to accomplish through that. I don't want to see families hurt. On the way to church this morning, before I got up, I'd heard it was 23 girls. On the way to church, I heard 27. And yesterday, when I got the news, I sat there and cried. Not for me, for 23 sets of parents. And for 23 kids. Because right now, the target for Satan's disruptions are our young people. God, He can't hurt me. He hadn't been able to hurt me since I was 21 years of age, because I belong to God. But the sad part about it, how many years was I saved that I never, ever realized the power of that simple feeling, that simple knowledge, that simple conviction, hey, I belong to God. I've been born again. The devil can't hurt me. The world can't hurt me. The world's going to die and go to hell, but I'm going to live forever and ever and ever because I belong to God. And when you have that, that's power. That's power to be able to. I belong to God when I pray for our babies. I belong to God. They belong to God. They're innocent, but they belong to God. Period. And so, what can I do? I can pray for them. I can pray for their parents, and I ask you to do the same. Just be careful what phrase catches your attention. Because when it catches your attention, you're going to share it with somebody else. It'll go from one person to another, to another, to another, to another. Father, bless today as only you can. Lord, simple message. It's so simple that you bless those who belong to you. And you warn us that we need to stand together, unite together with the love of Christ behind us, the power of God sustaining us. And the command of God to, not only to, sometimes we misphrase. You didn't say, to go and witness. You said you will be witnesses. And so the command is not to go out and beat on the door, but the command is to live day by day as witnesses that the world can see that we belong to you. Now bless today as only you can. And hopefully some that hear this message this morning, our church is way down. But hopefully those that will hear it on Facebook, maybe it'll get somebody's attention and overpower some phrases that guides their misdirection, that gives them no peace, but makes them more disturbed and afraid. Bless as only you can. I thank you in Jesus' name. God's people said, amen.